This is a PowerPoint that just goes through how to present an online blog, which is a requirement for your human-animal interaction assignment. So just before we start, I just wanted to remind you of the requirements of the assignment. So as you know, you're required to write a blog which describes the welfare impact of human activity or human action in one domesticated species and one exotic managed species. Now, in terms of your domesticated species, it's entirely up to you what you pick. It could be a companion species, it could be a livestock species. With your exotic species, if you do want to use an exotic pet species, that's fine, but just make sure that it is in fact a domesticated species and not simply a species that we have been encouraging reproduction for that hasn't quite gone through the domestication process. So if you're in doubt, just make sure you check before, you research before to confirm that this species is in fact domesticated. When it comes to the exotic species, the key word here is managed. So it does need to be an exotic species where humans routinely keep them in captivity or where humans routinely keep them as a conservation purpose. And normally with management, we'd assume that humans would have an active role in their husbandry or in their reproductive ability. So just bear that in mind when you choose your species. What you might want to do as well for your species, as I mentioned in my previous recording, is you can choose species where there is a natural comparison, because one of the things that we're going to discuss now with the blog is trying to establish a theme or trying to establish a certain presentation within your blog. So you might find that it's quite nice to have similar species. For example, you could do a domesticated cat and a lion. What I would say as well with the exotic species is make sure that you clearly define the species and don't just rely on the type of animal. So for example, if you're doing elephants, you do need to pick African or Asian elephants. Equally with a tiger, you need to decide what species of tiger it is. It's not appropriate for you guys at this stage to just say elephant, because obviously as you may know, but research certainly indicates that the behaviour and the physiology of the Asian and the African elephant are very, very different, and as a result their welfare, the welfare implications is also very different. So make sure that you focus on a specific species, and I would encourage you to name that species using the Latin name or the scientific name when you introduce a species. So your blog needs to focus on evaluating both the positive and negative effects, and that needs to be for both species. So again, if you just focus on the positive in, say, the cat and the negative in the lion, you won't fully hit the learning criteria. So make sure that you are covering both positive and negative in both of your species, and you should be absolutely fine. So in terms of what you choose, it's entirely up to you the range of examples that you choose, but again, we're focusing on human action and human activity, so make sure within that it's very, very clear of actually what the impact is of humans in the welfare implications that you're discussing. And as it says there, you need to ensure that you present an unbiased and scientific approach to your research. So just to kind of reiterate, I know we've covered this in class, but in terms of what a blog is, and the reason why we've set this as an assignment, is a blog is designed to give an opportunity to share opinion and information in a slightly more informal or more personalised way. So as we discussed in class, within a blog, you are more than welcome to be a bit more creative in your writing, to use informal language. You can use rhetorical questioning, for example. It can be more conversational, but just bear in mind this is still an academic piece of work, so there needs to be academic tone in your writing, but so avoid things like the first person. Make sure that how you're writing is in full English rather than relying too much on abbreviations or too much on slang words. But a blog is designed to be more conversational, and it focuses on a specific topic. Now obviously it says in the second definition that we're focused on a subtopic on your blog, and again it's about making sure that you refine your approach, refine your discussion, so that you are focusing specifically on those positive and negatives. So in terms of the key features of a blog, we've just got a few bits to pull out here. The first one is that a blog is designed to be physically attractive or aesthetically pleasing. So this is one of the blogs that I've popped up on Ledge already for you that you've had access to. And this particular blog is focusing on the ability of animals to use scent in terms of emotional support or emotional comfort. So a couple of things that will identify a blog to start with is we've got a nice clear image to start with, and this particular image is of a cat sniffing some cat grass. Again, we would expect the image to be relevant, and what you can also think about with your blogs is how are you using your images to convey more information to your audience. So you don't necessarily have to integrate your image into your blog. Like, for example, you don't need to see figure 1.4, but you can use these images to provide more information to your audience. So do think about that. Don't just put pictures in because they look nice. You know, it's lovely to have a cute picture of a puppy, for example, but do try and think about how is this making my blog visually appealing, but also what information am I adding through the use of this image. The other thing that's really key with a blog is the title. So the title does need to be engaging. Here we've got a rhetorical question. You can use puns if you want to. You can be quite creative with your title, but just make sure that your title is clear and that it's clear from the title what the blog is about. By their very nature, blogs tend to be something that people will just click through. You might already have subscriptions to various different blogs yourself, and it tends to be something that's quite easy to read, something that is snappy. So you want your title to be something clear so that your audience fully understand the contents of the title. And here you've got the surname. You don't have to put that in your title if you don't want to, but it needs to be clear what your blog is about. So some other big key features to reiterate, excuse me. I know we went through this together at the end of last week's lesson, but as you can see with your paragraphs, they are short, snappy paragraphs. Again, within this particular blog, we've got a mixture of scientific information mixed in with more kind of informal language. We've got, again, some rhetorical questioning just to kind of engage your audience, and what this author's done that's quite nice is they've highlighted specific things that they want to emphasize to their audience. We've also got direct mentioning of references. So if you remember when I talked about this last week, I said that you can, if you want to incorporate references by mentioning them more in an informal manner. So for example, here we've got a recent study, and then the title of the study provides preliminary research. So you are able to pull on those studies or pull on those surveys, whatever you want to do. You know, pull on statistics, but the idea is that you're providing context to your audience so that they can understand potentially the severity of the situation you're discussing or associated research. But as you can see from the paragraphs, they are much shorter, they're much more concise. They often tend to be based on a specific subject rather than flowing through to each other. And it's entirely up to you whether you want to put subheadings or not. This particular blog post that I've picked is quite short and quite concise, so they haven't used subheadings, but you are welcome to do so. So it's entirely up to you. Final things just to say then for kind of key features of a blog, you do need to provide a conclusion, and within your conclusion there's various different approaches you can take. So this one has literally used it as a conclusion like you would in your normal essays, where they're summarizing the key features, but there are other ways you can do this. So some blogs use conclusions really well by presenting a call to action from your audience or trying to elicit a response from your audience. So again, you could leave it as a final statement, you could provide a rhetorical question, you could provide sources of further information or further responses of your audience. So for example, if I was talking about rhino conservation, it might be that actually I want to direct my audience to some known NGOs or some known charities that are currently supporting rhino conservation. So I might well leave that as you know, for further information please refer to this, or you could put a rhetorical question in there. Now you have got the reference lists here, and I would expect to see a reference list on your blog, but as I mentioned in class, you can either present the reference as you have been with the full citation, or you can try subscript referencing, which is where you put a number instead of the reference. So this list, if you're doing subscript, you would have it in numerical order based on first appearance or order of appearance of references. If you're going to follow APA 7, which is absolutely fine if you want to do that, then it needs to be in alphabetical order. But the reference references themselves should be formatted using APA 7th edition, so exactly how you have been so far. And if you need any more help with referencing, you can still visit the University of Portsmouth references website, and hopefully by now you're feeling a little bit more confident on what's expected. So in terms of WordPress then, so just to say at the very beginning, this is just one example of a blogging website that you can use. There are various different ones out there. I have no preference at all. The only reason I've suggested WordPress is because you can sign up for free, and it then gives you the opportunity to use resources. So basically, if you go on to WordPress, you can create a free account. You do not need to pay for the premium account. This, I don't expect you guys to pay any money to work out to use WordPress. But what it will do is it will ask you to set up a page, and it will ask you to give a domain name. So as I said the other day, this could just be your student number. This is my one that I showed you last week, which I used for my master's, and I've literally just got my name and my first initial. I wasn't very creative on this. You can be more creative if you want to be, but again, for the assignment purposes of the assignment, you're not going to get additional credit if you've got a nice creative blog name, so I will leave that up to you guys. But once you've logged in, this will be the page that you have access to, and what you want to be able to do is to go up to this top banner. So sorry, my arrow's in the wrong place, but this top banner where it says write, you click on that, and then that will then take you to the next screen, which is where you're going to write your blog, as you can see there. So in terms of when you go into that, then this will bring up a new page, and this is very much your page that you're going to prepare your blog on. So as I mentioned in class, I would encourage you to write your blog first in a Word document, partly because you do have to put your blog through Turnitin anyway, and then you've got it there to go, but also because at this stage your blog, what you're going to do with the text is to present it. So I personally find it very difficult to be writing things and trying to change formatting at the same time. So I would encourage you to write your blog on a Word document, have it there ready to copy and paste, and then it makes this process much, much easier. Now, one of the things that WordPress will give you, which is quite helpful, is it will give you an interactive tour of how to use WordPress. So if you do want to go through that, it is very good. It will all you literally do is click try it out, and it will give you a short tour so that you can go through the different functionality. But the kind of basic functionality that you've got here, as you can see, it says add title, so you click into that and you can then add your title. And then the next thing you want to be doing is you want to click on the next section, which requires you to choose a block. Now with WordPress, basically what it will require, the way it works is that anything is considered as a block. So if that is text, if that's images, if that's tables, if that's videos, for example, everything is considered as a block. And the way that you put that into is, as you can see, the little black plus sign that's there, you need to click onto that, and that will then bring up this page. Now on here, you've got various different options. So if you want to create a subheading, you can click heading. If you want to put an image in, you can put an image in. Text is paragraph. If you want to put a quotation in, which will change the formatting, you can click quotation. If you want to put bullet points in, that will be your list. And if you want to put several images in together, which will allow your audience to look through the images as a big pile, then you click gallery. So for this purpose, I'm going to do paragraph. Okay, so I've just clicked on the black cross, which has now brought up this next section. So I clicked on add paragraph, and it now basically comes up with a text box type situation. So I can write something, and as you can see in my top picture, I've written write some stuff. But as I said before, it's probably easier for you if this is a copy and paste situation. So if you've got your Word document there, you can literally copy and paste the text across, and you don't then have to worry about physically writing or creating stuff because you're just copy and pasting it. What it will also give you the option for is once you've written it, as I've written this top stuff, if you click on it, it then brings up this bar. So you can then edit your formatting as you go. So again, if you get if you want to copy and paste everything first, see what text you've got and then edit, that's absolutely fine. So you've got your bold. You can also link certain words. If you've got a journal or a website and you want to link things, you can. You don't have to, but if you want to. And equally, if you click on these dots, it will give you different colours, and it will just give you a bit more functionality for how you want to present it. Another very helpful button is the up and down arrows. So if as you're reading your work you decide that actually you want it in a slightly different order, instead of deleting it and restarting, you basically can just move your blocks up and down, and that's also really, really helpful, as you can see there. So the last thing then is just to mention about adding pictures. And as I said at the very beginning, for a blog, we do expect it to be visually appealing. But as I've already mentioned, you can use your images to actually extend your content further. So within this, all I've done is I've clicked on the add image picture, and what it does is it'll give you a simple file upload. So make sure you've got your pictures on your computer saved, and then you can just input them. And when you input them, again, you've got the same things as before. So you've got your up and down buttons. You can actually put banners or boxes around them, which is the lines here. You can crop your image. So if you decide that it's too big, or you've got edges to it that you don't really need, you can actually crop it while it's there. And again, you can link stuff to it if you want to. Now, the other thing you've got down the side is you can also change the styles. So on this one, I've actually rounded the edges. Your default is a square, but I've just rounded it because maybe that looks nicer. You've also got your image size, so you can set whether you want large, small or medium, or if you want to, and this might be a little bit for those of you that are more familiar with this, is you can actually decide the height of pixels. Now this is quite good if you want to set your images so that they're all the same in terms of sizing. And for example, the images, I'd certainly do this on Ledge. Ledge is quite a similar format to WordPress, funnily enough. And actually I'll tell my computer how big my images need to be. So let's say, for argument's sake, that I want my image to be 150 pixels in width and 500 in height. So whatever the image is, it will format to those dimensions. So it then means I can have images that are the same size, that then gives me a nice, concise and structured appearance where everything looks the same. But with the kind of formatting of things, I would just encourage you guys to have a play, see what works for you, because at the end of the day, it's your blog, and it's your appearance that you want to work. There we go. Okay, so hopefully that's given you a little bit of a bit more of an idea of what's expected. I will add an additional video under this. It's not mine, I have to say, but an additional video under this that just goes through a little bit more of the functionality of WordPress. As I said before, WordPress is one example of a blog creation software. You don't have to use WordPress. If there's something else that you're more familiar with, you're more than welcome to use that. But hopefully it's just giving you a little bit of reassurance of what we're expecting. As always, do drop me an email if you've got any questions. I know you guys are on work placement at the moment. Excuse me, but I'm obviously not, so if you do have any questions, do drop me an email. And also you can use the Ledge discussion forum that is on Ledge, so if there are general questions that you think that everyone in the group has, feel free to email me on that. The only other thing just to say is there are various different blogs up on Ledge already for you to have a look at, to kind of give you a bit of inspiration, or maybe to give you some ideas of structure, so do please have a look at those. Otherwise, I hope that you enjoy the rest of your work placement, and hopefully the assignment will also be a joy. All right, take care. I'll speak to you soon.